Karen Page never thought she would find herself here. Alone, addicted, ashamed, strapped for cash, she does something she probably never thought she would. She sells the true identity of Daredevil for a quick hit. 6 weeks later, this information goes all the way from Mexico into the Kingpin's own hands. The Kingpin tells his assistant, Wesley, to locate every person who possessed this information and await the kill order to eliminate them. Meanwhile, the Kingpin decides to test this information himself. 6 months later pass, and that is when we truly start to see the Kingpin's plan go into action. We see Matt Murdock's life start unraveling piece by piece. No job offers coming in, his girlfriend breaking up with him, mortgage payments going missing, his taxes being audited, and his bank accounts getting frozen. To make matters worse, he gets subpoenaed to appear in front of a grand jury, as he gets accused by Lieutenant Manolis that he saw Matt Murdock bribe a witness to perjure himself. News of Matt Murdock's criminal charges start to spread quickly, and his friend and reporter Ben Urich gets word of it. When he does, he quickly calls Matt to try and get a sense of what is going on, but Matt hangs up on him. During all of this, Matt's ex-girlfriend, Gloriana, has her apartment ransacked. Scared and alone, she calls Foggy Nelson, who comes to the apartment and takes her to his. There she is able to calm down and feel safe again after the traumatic experience she went through. She opens up to Foggy and starts moving closer to him, which is when he quickly shuts her down and says it's better he goes to sleep on the couch and she takes the bed. Angry, frustrated, confused, Matt does the one thing he can still count on. He suits up. He goes out at night and pays a visit to Nicholas Manolis' house. He asks him why is he lying about Matt Murdock, but his guilt drives him to rage. Daredevil quickly subdues him and disappears. Once he thinks he's alone, Nicholas makes a call, telling the person on the other end that Daredevil showed up like he said and how his boy needs that treatment soon. Daredevil continues listening on how Lieutenant Manolis is talking about his boy, and he will say whatever they want him to say at the hearing. Daredevil does not hear who is on the other end, so he leaves and heads home, pondering who is the person out to get Matt Murdock. The next day, Foggy wakes up to Gloriana cooking, thinking to himself if he died and went to heaven. Except that moment of thought quickly vanishes as Matt calls him and tells him about his grand jury. The next few weeks pass and the Kingpin revels in his successful attack on Matt Murdock's life. He gets reports of the hours upon hours Matt and Foggy spend at the library crafting his defense, seeing his deterioration physically and his change personally as reports of Daredevil's increased aggressive nature comes in, especially one particular incident where Daredevil ambushes a waterfront saloon and goes berserk on everyone. All of this to the pleasure of Kingpin, who watches from afar with a smile on his face, a smile of satisfaction at a well-executed plan, at finally knowing the name of his arch-nemesis. Although he did not get him arrested, he did get Matt Murdock's law license revoked, and for the Kingpin that is more than enough. The knowing that Matt will face potential poverty and public shame satisfies the Kingpin, so much so that he denies himself the pleasure of a killing stroke, even mulling the potential idea that once Matt is desperate enough he might just hire him for his enterprise. Returning home, Matt is in a depressive state. A foreclosure statement is in his pocket. He now starts to get more paranoid, seeing enemies everywhere he looks, thoughts about friends betraying him. He feels lost. He knows he shouldn't think like this, he just doesn't know what to do. He thinks a night of sleep might help, but when he goes to enter his apartment blows sky high. He stands on the sidewalk looking on at the rubble of his once home, seemingly the final cherry on top of all of the chaos. Although the explosion helps Matt finally deduce who is behind everything, that there were not multiple enemies, only one man, the Kingpin. Matt ends up going to a sleazy hotel, spending his days depressed and alone. His mind, though, never stops racing, from thoughts of everyone is against him, how can he be so blind to the Kingpin's plan, to him going to kill him, rejecting that idea, and saying he will beat him until he gives him his life back, saying he is going to get up, only to slump back into bed. Matt eventually wakes up from a bad dream and ends up calling Gloriana and Foggy, driving Gloriana to tears as Matt continues his downward spiral. He even ends up dropping the hotel manager, convinced he was sent by the Kingpin, leaving him on the floor as he leaves the hotel. What Matt does not know is that he was being followed by one of Kingpin's men, as we see him updating the Kingpin on how Matt went from the hotel to the train station. How they got on board and Matt sat there and did nothing as 3 armed men threatened all the passengers. Not until Matt had a gun put in his face is when he acted, and in the Kingpin's man's own words, that his response was extreme. The first assailant he strikes at the ribs, then his jaw. Second assailant gets his spine rearranged. The third manages to fire 1 shot, but nothing could stop Matt Murdock when he is on this kind of rampage. All of this only pleases the Kingpin more and more, because the Kingpin relishes seeing the downfall of such a noble man, and his victory he feels will be as sweet as it can be when Matt Murdock visits the Kingpin at his home personally. And that is what Matt does. He arrives at Kingpin's tower, greeted by the receptionist who says Mr. Fisk is expecting him. And finally they come face to face and the two go at it. Matt swings a piece of stick at Kingpin's stomach. Kingpin swiped, but Matt ducked and hit back, breaking Kingpin's nose. He swung the stick against Kingpin's head as Kingpin grabbed Matt and put his fist through his ribs and his jaw, putting Matt on the floor. It could have been very easy for the Kingpin to finish Matt right there and then, but he needed his death to be no questions asked. So they put his body in a stolen cab, put a bottle of vodka in his lap and poured it over him, and drove the cab into the river. For weeks Kingpin felt triumphed after finally getting rid of the one good man he ever known. Except when finally the cab was discovered, one thing was missing from the scene that could have brought the Kingpin the ultimate satisfaction. There was no corpse found, because Matt Murdock still lived. After climbing out of the stolen cab and swimming to shore, Matt makes his way to an alleyway and stays among the homeless, thinking of the past, how he became who he is, and all the things that led him to this moment. There is one person who has not given up on Matt though, reporter Ben Urich. He makes his way to Bellevue and goes to see Lieutenant Manolis, the cop who helped frame Matt Murdock. He is in the hospital with his son waiting to get surgery. Ben tells Manolis he knows why he did it, why he helped the Kingpin. Matt though wills himself to keep moving. If he is moving, he is not dead. He walks through traffic, getting hit by cars. Stumbles upon 2 people dressed as Santa Claus planning to scam people in the holidays, only to be easily taken down. As Foggy and Matt's ex-girlfriend keep getting closer and closer, Matt makes his way to his home, Hell's Kitchen, to his father's old gym where he used to train boxing. While Ben is talking to Manolis outside and getting him to open up, the hospital nurse comes out and attacks Manolis and tells Ben he is making life for her employer very difficult. She told him that every time he utters the name Matt Murdock, he will lose the use of his fingers. Matt walks into the gym and starts hitting the bag. Remembering all the hours he spent in it, Matt keeps on punching until he collapses in exhaustion, laying on the floor until he is found by a nun who holds him in her lap, laying in a bed in a sister's convent, beaten and bandaged. Matt is there, unconscious, but being taken care of by the sisters of the place. As Matt lays unconscious, everyone else's life keeps moving on. Karen Page finally makes it to America, allowing herself a sliver of hope that she is on her way to New York and will find the one man who can save her. Kingpin trains ferociously, not able to stop thinking about the man he thought he finally was rid of. Foggy signs the contract of his new job, excited about the salary but still thinking about his missing friend in the back of his mind. While Ben Urich recovers slowly after the trauma that he saw and witnessed for trying to uncover the truth of what happened to his friend. Matt starts to get slowly better. Internal bleeding stopped, his ribs back in place. He starts to smell and hear all that is around him, slowly focusing on his home until a bell rouses him up. He tries to get out of bed, but quickly collapses until Sister Maggie comes to help him back in bed. Karen, now in New York, manages to get in contact with Foggy and through tears in her eyes convinces him to meet her. Ben Urich is in his office at the Daily Bugle. J. Jonah Jameson is trying to convince him not to get scared, but Ben isn't listening. Even when Ben later thinks about going to Jameson, he realizes he is being watched by Kingpin's men, scared into submission once again. So scared he leaves the crime beat of the Daily Bugle entirely, told to write a simple puff piece. But as he is being told he needs to hurry, he gets a call from Lieutenant Manolis in the hospital, telling him how he wants to tell Ben how he helped Kingpin set up Matt Murdock. Ben keeps saying no politely until someone else enters Lieutenant Menelaus' room. The call is kept on purpose, so Ben can hear Lieutenant Menelaus being choked to death by the Kingpin's henchmen. Everything around him keeps going, but Ben sits there frozen in fear, not able to move a muscle. Foggy and Karen meet after so long apart. When Foggy finally asks Karen what happened, Karen holds nothing back. She tells the circumstances she found herself in, the bad people she is with, and how she needs Matt to save her. Then Foggy tells her all that has been happening, with them losing the law firm, Matt acting odd and strange, getting charged with a crime. He tells her how he thinks Matt was set up, but now he has vanished. Flustered and distraught, Karen goes to get up and leave, without ever mentioning to Foggy that she's the one that sold Matt's secret identity out. But Foggy stops her and tells her she is not going back to the people that did this, and she is coming home with him. During all of this, Matt Murdock, who was suffering with a fever the entire time, managed to break it, and finally seems like he is on a road to true recovery. Maggie, the one who has taken care of him the whole time he was here, is recognized by Matt Murdock by hearing her heartbeat as the woman who visited him the first night in the hospital after he had his origin accident. He asks her plainly if she is his mother, which she promptly says no, but Matt hears her heartbeat jump. He knows she just lied to him. Matt Murdock starts to get his strength back, starts to bring himself into fighting shape once again, while the Kingpin starts to be questioned by his own people about the time and resources the business is putting behind the Matt Murdock situation. Ben Urich as well ended up in the police station telling the cops how Kingpin is the reason Nick Menelaus is no longer alive, as the Kingpin's attempts at fear only pushed Ben toward helping Matt even more. Unbeknownst to Ben though, his confession comes with consequences, as the nurse who took out Nick Menelaus, who broke Ben's fingers, goes to his home. She attacks Ben as he walks through the door and gets into a fight with the security the police placed with Ben. Ben Urich runs in to find his wife struggling to breathe. Ben tries everything he can to help his wife stay afloat. Thankfully for Ben, while he is saving his wife, a guardian angel appears. Matt Murdock, who had been following Ben, arrives at his apartment and takes out the Kingpin's goon. After saving his wife, Ben goes back out into the living room and finds the psycho nurse tied up with a broken jaw. He knows instantly that Matt is responsible. That is when Ben gets a call from Melvin Potter. He tells him he read his article about the Kingpin in the Bugle and needs to talk to Ben urgently about Daredevil, but Ben tells him he can't talk tonight, only tomorrow. So Matt goes to Melvin Potter himself, and he overhears how Kingpin ordered him to make him a Daredevil costume or they will get rid of his shop. He is scared and unsure what to do until Matt from the shadows tells him to make the costume for them, from which Melvin promptly responds as saying, "It is a pleasure to hear your voice, Daredevil." The costume was made as Kingpin devised a plan to have a psychopath wear the Daredevil costume and attack Foggy and Karen, hitting Matt Murdock twice with one lethal blow. The plan goes awry though, as the man hunting Karen stalks her to Foggy's apartment, then gets into a shootout with the cops. Then as the fake Daredevil makes his way to Foggy's apartment, Karen hits Foggy with a plant and chooses to run away, hoping trouble will follow her and leave Foggy alone. Fake Daredevil goes to enter the building through the roof access door, but finds the door that was supposed to be open locked. He bangs on it until a fist smashes through the door, hitting him in the jaw as Matt Murdock bursts through. As Karen is running away, she gets caught in the crossfire as she is shot at by Kingpin's men while being held by the man chasing her. While Matt Murdock takes out the fake Daredevil, showing his superiority and class. Karen is cornered in dead-end alley, about to willingly let go her life as she is cornered from both ends, when Matt Murdock, like a descending angel, saves her life by throwing icicles, then hugging Karen tight. At this stage of the Matt Murdock plan, Kingpin has reached a level of desperation. He called in a request with a general he has in his pocket and requested a man known as Nuke, or Agent Simpson, to be diverted to New York, ready to be aimed at Matt Murdock's direction. While Ben Urich continues to investigate Kingpin, day by day his security grows bigger. This time his investigation leads him to Foggy, cause Ben knows to take down Kingpin he has to find Matt. Foggy tells Ben not to worry, that he has an appeal ready for Matt, and shows him his evidence. Once Ben sees the pictures, he realizes they are Gloriana pictures, and asks Foggy to tell her to call him. Ben secures an interview with Lois. the person that attacked Ben and attacked his wife in his home. He goes there with Gloriana, who's taking pictures for the story. They get in to interview her, but the door gets locked and the cops take out their guns and put them on them. They shoot Lois. They shoot the security the police put with Ben, but the security manages to shoot one of them, but then the other one acts quicker and puts his gun to his head, and Ben jumps in and saves his life. They wrestle for the gun, and Ben beats him with his own gun after grabbing hold of it. All this while Gloriana is taking pictures and not stopping. Nuke arrives to New York and meets with the Kingpin. Kingpin tugs on all the right emotions, mentioning his son the veteran, giving Nuke a speech about the true American identity and how he does what he does to preserve the American dream, only fueling Nuke more to follow Kingpin and complete his task to the best of his ability. Kingpin sends Nuke to Hell's Kitchen, where Matt is just leaving from the diner as he finished a shift of his new job. Nuke jumps into the streets and showers the street with bullets, sending people flying. He sends a rocket to where Karen was staying and Matt runs to her. He finds her in the rubble, feeling like he's going through the same thing all over again. But Karen is alive, clutching the Daredevil costume, telling Matt, "I kept it safe for you, Matt." He kisses Karen and decides he does not have the pleasure of being patient anymore. Since Kingpin has gotten this desperate, he needs to respond. He needs to bring back the Daredevil. Daredevil and Nuke get into a fight as Daredevil tries to stop his bullets from continuous flying into buildings. He gets in close, trying to disarm him the entire time as Kingpin is getting news of the incident, which has now reached the mainstream news. Daredevil tries to fight dirty, tries to sever the muscles, break bones, but nothing works. He does what he can and kicks him off the building, through electric wire and onto a car. Even then he is still firing. In the background during all of this, Ben and Gloriana are there, developing their story as it unfolds in front of them. The fight then continues on the street as the two keep dueling. Even the helicopter which transported Nuke starts firing onto the street. This forces Daredevil to grab Nuke's gun and destroy the helicopter. All of this chaos, all of this madness, attracts the attention of the Avengers. Captain America arrives giving orders, as Ben Urich beautifully wrote down with a voice that could command a god, and does. Thor brings down the rain to subdue the fires, while Iron Man goes to Daredevil telling him to stand down as Nuke is theirs by federal authority. Matt slowly backs away as Cap stands over Nuke. After all the chaos, all the injured people are gathered in the convent, the same one that took care of Matt. The sisters go around everyone and Matt is there in the shadows watching as Foggy comes in running for Gloriana. Matt does not mind though. He goes to Karen and the two embrace. But the moment does not last long though, as he senses a heartbeat, smells a scent, and he goes out running to come face to face with Captain America. Cap asks Matt who the man is, and Matt tells him how his skin contains several kinds of plastic, how it's tough and doesn't burn. His skeleton and muscles are partly human. When Matt asks why Cap cares, his response was simple: he wears the flag. Kingpin talks to the general about if he has to step in to contain the story, but the general assures him he will have it under control. After that call, the general has another visitor, Captain America, demanding to know who the man who attacked Hell's Kitchen is, but the general hides behind bureaucracy. Captain America does not take that though. He sneaks to sub-level 6, gets on classified computers and finds information about the army's attempt to revive Project Rebirth, a list of all the people that died besides one, Agent Simpson. As Cap uncovers all this, Agent Simpson and the army generals many floors above have an uncomfortable conversation. They try to get Simpson to calm down, to send him back overseas, but he does not want to leave again. He gets up, takes out the soldiers, busts out of his handcuffs and chains. Simpson fights his way through soldiers until he gets a face full of Captain America's shield and is rammed through, plummeting to the floor. Captain America gathers Simpson up and drags him to the roof, where he is met with a waiting helicopter machine gun about to be gone forever, until Daredevil runs in and saves them both. Captain America holds off the soldiers as Daredevil steals a cab with Simpson in it and they drive away. Captain America swiftly follows when he can, trying to get Nuke back from Daredevil, but Captain America instead stumbles upon one of the hitmen sent to kill Nuke and Daredevil. Meanwhile, while Cap is occupied, Daredevil takes Nuke to the Daily Bugle and puts him on Ben Urich's desk, front and center, ready to expose the story once and for all. After that, the next few weeks go horribly for the Kingpin. One of his men, the hitman Captain America apprehended, names him as the mastermind behind Nuke's attack. He is then attacked on all sides by citizen groups, Senate subcommittees, ex-employees using information they have on him to barter shorter prison sentences, lieutenants looking at him sullen, his orders taking longer to be obeyed. His grand plan to be taken into the serious eyes of the law and be considered legitimate ruined. Only taking solace that the law was the thing he took away from Matt Murdock as well. But Murdock has different plans. He doesn't plan on sulking and thinking about the past. He is living in Hell's Kitchen content with his new life, with Karen by his side, and his vow to fight for justice in his neighborhood as the man without fear, born again.